Hey guys, Chris Fix here, and today I'm going to show you how to paint your wheels. In this video, I'm going to be painting these steel wheels to make them look amazing and to transform the look of this car. Because personally, I don't like the look of hubcaps, especially these hubcaps, and under those hubcaps, these steelies are all rusty and look horrible. So we're going to go from these ugly rusted wheels to this, which looks amazing and really transforms the look of the car. The process I'm about to show you will work for any wheel you want to paint, whether aluminum alloy, chrome, or steel. And I'm going to be using common tools so you could do this at home. If you have aluminum wheels that are polished and shiny, I have a video on how to fix scratches and curb rash on those, and then polish them up and clear coat them. I'll leave a link to that video in the description. But if you want to paint your wheels, then this video is for you. So let's begin. Now there are 5 simple steps to spray paint your wheels. The first step is to clean the rim with soapy water to remove any grease, brake dust, or road grime. The second step is to smooth down any rust, scratches, or curb rash with a metal wire brush, sandpaper, or a flap wheel. Step 3 is to wipe down the rim with alcohol to clean the surface for paint. Step 4 is to paint the wheel with primer. And step 5 is to paint the wheel with any color you want. This will take you about 2 hours total to do all 4 wheels, so let's get started. The first step is to take the wheels off your car and clean them with soapy water. You want to remove any brake dust and grease that might be on the wheels. It doesn't have to be perfect because the next step, we're going to sand down the wheel, which will remove most of the brake dust anyway. So just make sure you get all the grease off. Now with the wheel clean, the next step varies based on the condition of your wheel. Now what we want to do is we want to make this wheel as smooth as possible. Any little rough spots, scratches, curb rash, or any other damage will show up through the paint, so you have to smooth those down. So if you have any deep scratches that gouge into the metal, get one of these 120 grit flap discs and smooth it out, just like I showed you in the aluminum wheel repair video. And you could do the same thing with 400 grit sandpaper, it just takes a little bit longer. Since these wheels are steel wheels, and we're dealing with all this rust, not really scratches or gouges or curb rash, I'm going to use a metal wire brush on my angle grinder. Now this is a fine metal wire brush compared to a thicker metal wire brush, and we only need fine because this rust isn't bad at all. And the good thing is both of these could be bought for less than 20 bucks. Now if you don't have a Dremel or an angle grinder, you could use old-fashioned sandpaper to sand down the wheel. Just like in the aluminum wheel repair video, you go from 400 to 600 to 800 to 1000 grit to smooth down this whole surface. You'll get the same results with the sandpaper as you will with anything else. It just takes a lot longer, which is why I'll be using the angle grinder. And remember, if your wheels are steel just like this, which you could tell because a magnet sticks to them, it takes a lot more pressure and a lot more time to sand scratches smooth in steel because steel is harder compared to aluminum. Aluminum will sand a lot faster. Now let's get started removing this rust. Now at this point we want to use eye, lung, and hearing protection. We don't want this dust to get in our lungs or our eyes. And the little metal pieces on the wire brush tend to shoot out if it hits a rough patch, so you don't want that in your eye. Now we're going to start by sanding the whole wheel down. The goal here is to get the surface completely smooth and rust free. Focus on removing that surface rust. Make sure you get into all the difficult spots like the center of the wheel here. While you do this, pay attention to the tire stem so you don't damage it, and make sure you don't forget about the edge of the rim. But be careful with the tire because you want to do your best to not hit the tire with the wire wheel. Finally, get over by the wheel weight. Now you might want to take the wheel weight off when you paint the rims. That's up to you. I'm not going to because you're going to have to balance the wheels afterwards. These are brand new tires and I'm not getting them balanced again, so I'm keeping the weight on. I could always touch up the paint if the wheel weight ever has to get removed. Make sure you get in every crack and crevice. You want to make sure you remove all the rust and any imperfections because that'll show right through the paint. You can see this spot looks clean and free of rust, but upon closer inspection, it still has some roughness to it. This roughness will show right through the paint, just like this. So make sure you get it completely smooth. Now look at that difference. Make sure you do that for the entire wheel. Even if your wheel is in great shape with no rust or scratches, sand the whole surface down with 600 grit so the paint has something to grab onto. This will make the paint last a lot longer and resist chipping and peeling. Now I told you to wear eye protection, and check this out. This is why. These little pieces of metal from the wire wheel come flying off, and imagine if this went and hit your eye. So be smart and be safe because that's very important. Alright, this looks great. It's completely smooth with no rust or deep scratches. The little bit of black left over is the original powder coating, and it's not coming off that easily, so you can spray right over it without any problems. Now, on to step 3. The first thing I like to do is I like to hit the wheel with some compressed air, or if you don't have an air compressor, a leaf blower would work well, and just blow all that dust that you created from sanding off the wheel. If you don't have some type of pressurized air, then just wipe the wheel off with a towel. Now for step 3, we're using rubbing alcohol. Pour the alcohol onto a paper towel, preferably a paper towel that's low lint, and just make sure you rub down the whole wheel to get it clean. Every surface should be touched by the alcohol and paper towel. We use alcohol because alcohol is a good solvent, plus it's very volatile, so it evaporates and dries quickly. You want to clean the wheel until you can wipe the wheel with a new paper towel, and it's completely clean, like this. Once your towel's clean, you are ready for step 4, spraying primer. For step 4, find a spot away from anything you wouldn't want to get overspray on, such as your car. Now the hardest part about painting is not getting any paint on your tire. So I have 2 tricks that we're going to use to help with that. The first trick is tire shine gel. Get a bunch of tire shine gel on the applicator and spread it on the outside of your tire, being careful not to touch the rim at all. If you get anything on the wheel or even on the outside of the rim, make sure you clean it off with alcohol right away because the paint won't stick. And that's the whole purpose of using tire gel. If you get any overspray, you're just going to wipe it off because the overspray is going to stick to the gel, and the gel provides a protective coating. And to make sure you don't get the tire shine on the rim here, don't go so close, leave a little gap. That's where trick number 2 comes in handy, using index cards. And all you're going to do is stick the note cards between the rim and the tire all the way around. So as we spray, we're going to have to go all the way across the wheel, so the index cards will protect the tire from overspray. And if you happen to get some overspray on the tire shine will make it real easy to remove that overspray, and the paint won't stick to the tire. One more thing, to protect the valve stem, I like to use the tip of a finger from an old glove and just cut it off. Then it slides right over the valve stem, just like that. Alright, we are ready to spray primer. We use primer first because it bonds well to the metal and fills in small surface blemishes like scratches. It also gives the colored paint a really good surface to bond to. Now a helpful trick I learned for spray paint, if the air temperature is less than 80 degrees Fahrenheit, put your can of paint in warm water. Make sure the water is between 90 and 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is basically the temperature of the hot water coming out of your sink. Doing this will give you a better spray pattern and less orange peel. And this can's nice and warm, so let's go paint. Now we're ready to spray our primer. Make sure you read the instructions on the back of the paint can to determine what temperature range you could paint in, how far to hold the can from the wheels, and how long you have between coats. Make sure you paint in low humidity and with little to no wind. When painting, never start or stop spraying with the nozzle pointing directly at the wheel. You always want to start from the outside, go across, and end on the outside. This will help your paint job look a lot better. For your first coat, get a light, even coat, and don't worry about complete coverage. I start spraying with the can further away from the wheel, and then I move in closer until I find the sweet spot where the paint gets evenly applied to the wheel. Just like that. So now our first light coat looks awesome. Now remember to put the can back in the warm water while we wait 2 to 3 minutes between coats. 3 minutes later, let's do our second coat. On the second coat, we want to make sure that we cover all of the wheel with primer. And make sure you spray at different angles to get complete coverage. You don't want to see any bare metal at the end of this coat. And one thing I like to do is go around the whole outside of the rim to make sure you get coverage between the note card and the rim. And now you just have to wait another 2 minutes and we could spray the final coat of primer. Alright, on to the final coat of primer. Now's a good time to put your colored spray paint in the warm water and let it heat up. With this last coat, I'm going to slow down the motion of my arm a little bit, which will make this last coat just slightly thicker. And this will help with the orange peel. You don't want it too thick though, because then you'll get paint that runs, and that won't be good. So just finish up this last coat so there's an even and full coverage. And it's that simple. All 3 coats of primer are on, and if you're curious, I used about 1/3 of the can, so you could easily do 2 to 3 wheels with 1 can. And that's doing 3 coats each. And to get a close-up, you can see how good this came out. The finish looks nice and smooth. And now we have about 10 minutes for the primer to be ready for our black coat. One thing I want to mention, when you take the spray paint out of the water, make sure you wipe it down good so none of the water drips onto the wheel as you're painting. Now with the color, you're going to do the exact same process we just did with the primer. Spray a light, even first coat and don't worry about covering up all the gray. Make sure you stop and start spraying with the nozzle pointed away from the surface you're painting. Just like that. After our first coat, we wait 3 minutes and let it dry. 3 minutes later, we could hit it with a second coat. Make sure you cover up all the gray primer with this coat and spray at different angles along the wheel. Now we're done with the second coat, so let's give it 3 minutes and start our third coat. Alright, we're on our final coat. For the final coat, I'm slowing down my arm just a little bit so that we could get a slightly thicker coat, just like we did for our third coat of primer. And again, I'll spray the rim at different angles to get complete coverage. And we are done! If you want, you could put a layer of clear coat on here for a glossy finish, but this black paint I use has a glossy finish without clear coat, so it saves us a step. By the way, I highly recommend this paint. I'll leave a link in the description to where you can get it. I used it to undercoat my truck, and I use it for painting all my suspension parts. It's durable, and it's just so easy to spray to make it look good. Now the last thing you want to do is you want to remember to pull the cards off so they don't get stuck or peel the paint when the paint dries. And don't forget about the glove tip covering the valve stem. Now this looks amazing. It has a great deep shine to it. The paint is smooth and I'm really happy with it. Now all we have to do is let it dry for 2 hours and we could put it on the car. It's gonna be a long 2 hours. Check this out. This looks so much better than before, and to make it even better, I have this small chrome center cap which is gonna complete the look. Check out the before and the after. Look at that difference. Now you can see at the bottom here and also the side here we have some overspray. All you have to do to get that overspray off is use an abrasive sponge. Because we use that tire shine, it comes right off. The paint job for these wheels came out awesome, and now you know how to paint your wheels so it comes out looking great. Hopefully the video was helpful, and if you try this on your own wheels, take a before and after pic and send it to me or tag me in it on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I definitely want to see your painted wheels, and maybe I'll even feature it in a future video.